r/ask Reddit. What are some skills people think are difficult to learn but in reality are easy and impressive? Doing maintenance work yourself on your vehicles. You'd be surprised how easy it is and how much money you'd save by doing it. Was daunted by an engine bay until my Phil helped me swap my engine due to a cracked cylinder head. Learned a lot. And then a few months later when a clutch cylinder failed, I was able to fix it myself for only £25. Well shit son, you tackled one of the most labor intensive jobs there is on a vehicle, lol badass. It's amazing how once you start working on a car it's almost like the complexity begins to unravel and you realize how simple everything actually is. Sewing. Even if it's just to do simple repairs. It always fascinated me watching my mom at her sewing machine when I was little. I'm a guy, so I had her show me how to use it. Later on, my grandmother taught me the art of sewing by hand. Also, knitting and crocheting. So I can do basic patch-up repair work on seams and tears. Also, if you have kids, you can fix their favorite stuffed animals when a seam lets go or a sibling rips an ear off. The stuffed animal, not the sibling. It's a little thing, but useful. Seems like it's becoming a lost art. I purchased a sewing machine and it paid for itself in about a week, fixing stuff that would either be thrown away or have to pay to fix. And I got better results than my dry cleaner. And for anyone that says it's not manly, you think open ocean sailors and fishermen don't fix sails or running gear? A small sewing kit is standard issue in all Navy sea bags to this day. You're expected to know how to sew stitch. Anyone that's been promoted while at sea had to either resew their uniforms with new rank or find someone to do it for them. CPR. First aid too. I got certified for both. Each was just a 3-hour class. There wasn't even a proper test at the end. Solving a Rubik's Cube. Look it up. You can learn how to solve it in no time, and people will always be impressed. True, it takes only one day, and you will always know how to solve it under 2 minutes. I have learned how to solve Rubik's Cube years ago, but I forgot the last phase cycle. Don't know if this has been said, but shuffling cards. I used to practice while watching TV as a teenager, to the great annoyance of my mom, and I got really good at shuffling and making it look cool. Now whenever cards need to be shuffled, my friends just hand me the deck and watch. Ooh, I forgot about this one. I learned how to shuffle like 10 years ago, and my family still acts amazed whenever we play cards. Like no, it's actually pretty easy to learn. If you have heard of the control panel, you know more about computers than 90% of the human race. If you can install Linux on a computer, you know more than 99.9%. IT is a field populated with confused people who don't understand how they get paid so much for simply troubleshooting issues on computers. Cooking. And it's also rewarding when you get extremely good at it. Most common locks can be picked in seconds. People will think you're some kind of wizard, but it's just basic engineering, as locks are very simple devices. The impressive stuff that LPL Bosnia and Bill do is only for the most expensive or unusual locks, and even that can be learned fairly quickly. The padlock in your kitchen drawer is probably some cheap Mr. Lock clone. Counting cards. It's not that hard if you take a few days to practice. It's mostly mental gymnastics to count quicker and to memorize the true count. Thought card counting was impossible until I started playing euchre. I think it's easier because there are fewer cards to keep track of. Casinos use multiple decks now, I think. In theory it should still work, but is less effective. Appliance repair. If it's just a busted part, and it usually is, you can order the part online and watch a YouTube video on it and save yourself hundreds of dollars every time. We've repaired our refrigerator, dishwasher, and clothes washer a few times. The hard part is working out which part it is. Knitting and crochet. The hardest part is learning to hold your yarn right, Imo. Knitting I can do no problem. Tried to teach myself to crochet recently and it was painful. Like, I managed to get the hang of the basic chain stitch, but anything more than that just seems to be beyond me. 10 finger typing. I played a lot of video games in my youth, and when you type in the chat, your character stops moving. So I learned how to type really fast. I had to take typing in school, and typed to 110 WPM and the teacher just passed me along. Baking a cake. Really? Baking with yeast? Holy duck. People act like you turned water into wine by just making a simple loaf of bread. LOL. Playing easy songs on guitar. You only need to learn how to use some basic chords, like A, C, G, D, E, M and such, and some basic strumming pattern, and you can impress non-musicians easily. If you invest into a capo, you can play hundreds of songs with just these few chords. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Honestly, juggling, don't get me wrong, it's pretty hard to do the complicated shit, but just picking up 3 items and juggling doesn't take much practice. I learned it a while ago, and whenever I pick up anything and juggle with them for a few seconds, everyone's like, how you can juggle. Building a computer. It's not even a skill, you just need to know what you need, and it's like putting the circle block in the circle hole. I started in the 90s, wasn't so easy back then. Your motherboard manual was a 1-page leaflet translated by someone that couldn't speak English. No auto detect, nothing. You had to calculate your clock speed and set the right multiplier jumpers for CPU and memory. This is also how you would overclock it. CPU could go in 4 different ways, so you tried them all and hoped you didn't fry anything or bend a pin. And then we had to walk 2 miles in the snow, uphill both ways. Eating with chopsticks. I read how to do it and just tried the next few times I ate Chinese. Suddenly, I realized I accidentally got good at it. When I was first dating my wife, one of our first dates was to go out to a Chinese place. She was impressed when I was just casually eating with chopsticks, and I've since showed her how easy it is. I agree. I always like to take dates out to places where I can use my chopsticks because it usually gives us something to do while we wait. Out of the few people I've dated at a Chinese place, none of them knew how to use chopsticks. Fire breathing. It's not that hard, it's just really dangerous. Fire breathing is easy, the hard part is surviving to try it a second time. Getting fit. You're pretty sporty on that bike, you know that? I could never do that. You can. I was breathing like I'd have asthma and was smoking, but if you keep up the training for a while it'll come by itself. There's a YouTuber called Mike Boyd and he makes videos on learning skills like these. For example, he learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube. His videos show how an average person could learn these skills. In rock climbing, anything overhung is immediately impressive to an outsider, and anything straight up and down can seem meh, even though difficulty is due to a lot more factors than just how upside down you are. Showing people a route that is overhung but basically ladder rungs can make people go wow, even if it's the easiest route. Throw in some unnecessary tow hooks and bicycles for that extra flair. Swimming in the ocean. South Africa has a lot of beaches and you're expected to swim far away by the age of 7. For myself, it's doing voice impressions and accents. All I did was make stupid noises with my voice trying to imitate things. Eventually it worked out and now I can do a variety of many accents and impressions. Takeaway from it all? Just do some stupid noises and you'll be imitating things in no time, LOL. Ballroom dancing. Beginners classes are really basic, but you look really cool really fast and impress every single family member at gatherings, weddings. French braid, fishtail braid. My mom taught me to French braid in elementary school and I learned to fishtail braid in about 10 minutes from a YouTube tutorial. Braiding other people's hair? No problem. Braiding my own? Oh. Saying the alphabet backwards. I learned that when I was 12 cause a girl could do it. Asked a cop if he wanted to hear it one night during a sobriety check. He said no. I passed. Knitting. It's literally just knits and purls. Obviously there are more complicated patterns and stitch combinations, but it all goes back to knits and purls, like 1 and 0 for computers. You can get fancy with it, but it's all really 1 and 0. If you're a musician, playing scales really fast tends to impress non-musicians, when in reality it's the most fundamental, straightforward thing you can play. Cooking. You can make anything just laying around the fridge, you just need imagination. Chopping veg in a circular motion against the knuckle. Riding a motorcycle. Before learning to drive I always thought it was so complicated and soon realized it really wasn't. Manual. Cracking an egg with one hand. Just give it a try. It's unbelievably easy and you can figure it out on your own. It's easier than using two hands emo. I learned how to throat sing, overtone singing, in about an hour. It's really fun to pull out of the D&D table when the party encounters a monk or a hermit. New players never see you coming. People think you're goddamn wizard if you practice Tetris for like a month. In most people's mind, it's a slow, methodical game. So the simple act of throwing down blocks every half second looks unfathomable. Map and compass. It takes some work, but really, for the purposes of what you'd mostly do with it, it's fairly easy to learn. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.